Hello guys, so today I'm going to be talking about the new Andor legend Jiho. So first thing you need to know, it's a backline legend. He has some really cool buffs and the idea is basically for him to be shot on. So you're going to actually look at that in your stones. So let's get started. First thing, I have the skills on the other side. It doesn't have an EE, so I can't actually show you the exact numbers, but the skills are basically the same, and I'll just tell you the difference. So increase attack power by 20% and critical resistance by 20%, and accumulates 3 times. So that means you can get a 60% critical resistance, some nice attack power buff, and if you're running anything with a heal, a silk, it could be really resistant. Now the second thing is he has this really cool skill. This is actually really nice if you got a penetration based striker, because it's gonna actually buff upwards. So if for example you got a striker here and you put Jiho here, you're gonna be buffing the striker. And also if you got a Duke, this could just make a really nice line. So this is something you need to think about with this skill, but again, this is the skill you're going to max out last, because it's not a skill that actually helps the backline, and the idea of having a defender is to help the backline unless you find one of these skills is into your liking. But they're all pretty good, so I wouldn't say that. Now then we have Dominant Binding. So this skill is kind of special in the way it activates. Is going to decrease the action speed of the enemy within the position by 50% for 3 minutes when being attacked 2 times. So from my understanding, the times you're getting attacked, it doesn't matter who's attacking you, when they're attacking you. Like for example, a striker shoots, you pass the ball, then someone else happens, and then you have the ball and someone tries to steal and it starts stacking. But irrelevant. The point is, from the point it stacks, is going to decrease the action speed by 50%. So this is an extremely good counter against Vonchis, Milky Ways, Currents, anything that's speed-based, paralysis-based. This is just great. So I just wanted to point that one out. So this is a really cool skill. So you're going to want him to get hit. This is what this skill means. So even through his position as center back, he should never be there. And then we have Spreading Starlight, who I honestly find that this is just a great skill all around. I do wish that the values get buffed to 15%, and then that would just make it perfect. So increase max height by 10%, critical damage resistance by 10%, and decrease the incoming damage by 10% for allies within the position. It's still very nice. The E version actually comes everything up to 15. If it goes up a bit more, then this would be completely broken. I forgot about that. So basically, it's really nice. Now, if you're using him, what you also want to note, who's something that people just look at the skills, and I sometimes even skip it myself, is the ace. But in his case, you don't actually skip the ace, because he's going to increase support passive skill effect by 5%. Now, for those of you who don't know what a support passive skill effect means, that basically means any buff that you're going to see on your character screen that is not a self buff. For example, Victoria's line buff, that's going to be increased. His own Spreading Starlight is going to be increased. At Evo version, it's 7%. So basically, if this is an increase by 10%, knowing that they always round up, that already means that every value here is at the place of 15. They're at 16, and depending how they round off, could even be 17% just from an ace. So if you got a team with a lot of buffs, for example, using a Marianne, anything that buffs your team, that's the only side where it's going to affect, this can be extremely cool. It's not supposed to affect debuffs, so just be careful what team you're running, because it might not have any value whatsoever. Again, this is a rainbow skill, so that's also cool. Some players have already started using it. I remember seeing Enox, who's one of the chill members, already using him. Now, on a Spirit Stone level, he does have a bunch of really cool stones. So this is mainly going to be a question of what you want to run for the unique, but basically, this one's going to be a Dark Hype Stone. There's no questions asked whatsoever. Now, between these two stones, so as always, he's a backline defender, so this should be normally an Andor Reflex Stone, but if you really find him too squishy, you can put another Dark Hype Stone. So for the uniques, there's basically 2 possible options. what you can actually run is going to be the dark. Wait, it was in between dark. I kind of got mixed up in what his colors were. It was... yeah, so it's Thunder and Andor. So basically, in Andor, you could run an Endless Burning Matter on him, just maxing out on the fact that he's debuffing the enemy line. But there is kind of a risk to that. Or you could go in the Thunder line, and you could decide to run a Calming Icicle. In my opinion, I want to say that Calming Icicle might be better because it's going to increase action speed, decrease incoming damage when you're not holding the ball, and attack power. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you really want to put him center back, the thing is that this is risky and you want to do this with some defense buffers or some really good defense substats because the co-op defense might not always activate, but you could actually give him Mark of Bond. Now, again, this is not a unique stone I'm going to advise usually, but it is an option if you want to increase the chance of having 3-man defense co-ops. And if you're running Illusion, this is actually pretty cool. So I just want to put that out there. But again, I'm not going to advise that the stone I really want to push you guys towards is going to be running this 2 Andor Reflex Stone and a Dark Hype Stone. Seems to me as an ideal build. Again, depending on where you place him, how you place him, your exact line, this might not be the best build for you. So again, just check around what you're doing and you think about your own team. Now, on a chain level, I gotta say something. Him and Felix, the brand new legends, they've got some of the most OP chains I have ever seen. But I mean basically 80% of the players are players you're gonna find. It's to such an extent that I honestly believe they're going to have issues with the limitation of only having 3 types of chain active at the same time. Yes, there is actual limitation on that for the people who didn't know. So here he has Shu, who is a legendary, not so popular. Then he has Elaine, so you know that's going to activate. And he has Marianne, who are both extremely popular in Rainbow and a lot of formations. So this basically means his rival chain has a huge chance of activating. Now in the Nemesis chain, he has Milky Way, he has the Thunder Healer, I forgot her name, and he has the Andor special boss, the same type as Alice, who I also forgot her name. I think it's like Yenon. So it's also a pretty decent chance because that means it's going to activate when there's a Vanchi line, making it more resistant. And he also has a pretty decent chance of activating on Mono Thunder because now the healer has got a really nice counterattack resistance buff for the team, so people want to run her. And on Affection Chain, so these are people on your team, he has one with Lucian and Angela. So irrelevant of which one of the 2 goalkeepers you use, he's getting a buff. And he's got Bell just in case you're rocking Rainbow. And if you thought this was enough, well, they said no. We're going to give him a chain with Jean and the new Andor healer, whose name I also forgot, who's called Gelfi. Gelfi? Yeah, I'm guessing that's his name. There's too many funky names, so I just tend to forget. So on a chain level, this is completely overpowered. I have never seen a player with such good chains. The only one who rivals this level of chains is basically Felix, and one of 2 in the Mono Thunders if you're running Mono Thunder. Now, on the skin level, I would say I'm more a fan of the first one. The second one is cool, but the first one looks nice. I'm waiting to see the E skin, and I do believe that when they're going to take out an E, depending on which skill they buff, this could be extremely powerful. I would be hoping that they would be buffing this skill and the spreading Starlight, because that would just work really well. They already did at the Evo, but these values are still decently low, so there is still a chance for improvement. I do want to point out that his active can be stacked up to 3 times, so that means that in the end it's going to be 25% attack power, 25% critical res, giving him a 75% buff on both. So if you have any comments, ideas, question, just write it down. You shouldn't never have to spend Dimension Stone to reroll his colors. He just has a great base set. Have a good day, guys, and if you want any other build, just write down in the comments or any other player, and we'll see what is possible. Have a good day.